Some games try to look like art, and then there's By Sweet Carole, a game that is art. Every frame feels like it's been lifted straight out of a forgotten Don Bluth or Disney classic from the 80s, somewhere between Alice in Wonderland, The Secret of NIMH, and Return to Oz. It's equal parts enchanting and unsettling, a beautifully hand-drawn horror fantasy that had me hooked from the first scene. So today, we're diving deep into one of the most visually stunning and emotionally layered games I've played all year. Alright, grab your VHS player and rewind with me because this story feels straight out of an 80s animated fever dream. Set in early 20th century England, By Sweet Carole follows Lana Benton, an orphan at the strict and gloomy Bunny Hall institution. When her best friend Carol disappears under mysterious circumstances, Lana sets out to uncover what really happened, only to find herself pulled between the real world and a dark fairy tale realm known as Corolla. The setup alone sounds like something you'd find in an old Don Bluth concept sketchbook. The Secret of NIMH meets Alice in Wonderland with a horror twist. Corolla looks whimsical at first glance, but its world is twisted and rotting, ruled by sinister figures like Mr. Kin, the cruel owl Valina, and colonies of tar bunnies that would make even the Care Bears flinch. The presentation here is pure magic. Every frame of this game was drawn by hand. No cutouts, no automation, no AI. It's animation the old-fashioned way, the way I grew up with, and it absolutely shines. As an 80s kid, it hit me right in the nostalgia. The fluid motion, the lighting, the small expressions, it all feels alive. Then there's the music. The title theme acts as the heartbeat of the entire experience, appearing in different variations throughout the game, just like classic 80s soundtracks. So think Back to the Future's main theme, Dirty Dancing with Time of My Life, Beverly Hills Cop, Indiana Jones, like you name it. It ties everything together emotionally. Add in top-notch voice acting.
It all starts and ends with a girl, too small and inadequate for that world of ash, tar, and coal where she was born. When her mother died suddenly, the little girl, with only the company of a stuffed friend she would soon forget, found herself all alone on an icy bench, waiting for the carriage that would take her to the austere Bunny Hall. Luckily, even if that place turned out to be very hostile for her, there she met Carol, who like her was small and inadequate. So the little girl began to feel...
And a narrator that instantly reminded me of something I have not thought of in probably decades, but that's Mickey Rooney from the Care Bears movie.
The Care Bears. You see, the Care Bears have a very special mission, and that mission is to help everyone share their feelings with others. The Care Bears live in a magic place called Carolot.
And he just has a voice that you remember, and I'm sure that's why he was the narrator. So you've got a game that doesn't just tell a story, it actually performs it. Now, let's talk about how this fairy tale actually plays, because this bunny's got some hops. By Sweet Carole blends exploration, stealth, and a puzzle solving with cinematic flair. You'll control Lana as she navigates Bunny Hall and Corolla, switching between her human and rabbit forms to solve environmental puzzles and avoid danger. In human form, Lana can climb, pull levers, and interact with objects. In bunny form, she's smaller and faster, able to squeeze through tight spaces, and wall jump like she's been taking lessons from Super Mario 64. The transformation mechanic isn't just clever, it's essential. You'll constantly swap forms to survive, and it always feels seamless. The game keeps things engaging with quick time events that pop up during tense moments, balancing on ledges, dodging grabs, or escaping enemies. They fit perfectly, keeping you alert without feeling gimmicky. Stealth is another highlight. When danger approaches, you can hide under tables or behind furniture, holding L2 to literally hold your breath while a tension meter ticks down. Wait too long, you'll run out of air. Release too soon and the creature will hear you breathing. It's an anxiety-inducing but brilliant touch that gives the game its own rhythm. Lana isn't alone either. Early on, she meets Basie, a talking head who helps with puzzles and combat. He can roll around to reach areas you can't, push objects, and even be temporarily electrocuted or set on fire to interact with the environment. His design and voice instantly reminded me of Jack Pumpkinhead from Return to Oz, and it's such a wonderfully weird addition. Altogether, the gameplay feels like a blend of Maniac Mansion, Broken Sword, Little Nightmares, and a little bit of Home Alone on the NES. And I know that sounds weird, but the hiding mechanic reminds me of that. But even with all those comparisons, this game is 100% its own confident identity. Okay, deep breath, let's slow down before the next scare sneaks up on us. By Sweet Carole is broken into 10 chapters, and the pacing is spot on. There's always a clear objective, so you're never wandering around aimlessly. Each area feeds directly into the next, pushing the story forward while letting you take in the atmosphere. The difficulty sits comfortably between accessible and challenging with some of the puzzles. You'll die here and there, mostly when experimenting with stealth timing or quick time events, but it never feels punishing. And the game's checkpoints are generous, and every failure kind of teaches you something. And again, this is modern gaming, so you never run out of lives. One standout moment in Chapter 6, which turns into a rhythm-based dance sequence at a formal ball. You'll have to hit the right button combinations like circle, triangle, square, X, or left, right on the D-pad in time with the music. It's unexpected, stylish, and fits the theatrical tone perfectly. Clocking in around 8 to 10 hours, it's tightly paced with no filler. Each chapter introduces new mechanics or story twists that keep the experience feeling fresh throughout. So, who should step into this haunted picture book? Let's find out. By Sweet Carole is available on all platforms and PC, and it's tailor-made for players who appreciate rich storytelling, atmosphere, and traditional hand-drawn animation. If you grew up on darker, more mature animated films like The Secret of NIMH or The Black Cauldron, or even movies like the shirt I'm wearing today, Labyrinth, this one's going to hit home. Don't let the horror tag fool you. This isn't about jump scares or gore. It's a slow burn psychological adventure that explores grief, identity, and courage through stunning art and sound. The unease comes from tone and tension, not shock value, so it's earned. Fans of Little Nightmares, Maniac Mansion, or even Another World will feel right at home. It's perfect for those who prefer emotional storytelling and puzzle solving over reflex-based action. Alright, let's crank up that VHS fuzz because this part took me right back to the 80s. Playing By Sweet Carole was like stepping into the animation reels that I grew up watching. Movies like Fern Gully, All Dogs Go to Heaven, even Return to Oz. It's that same blend of innocence and unease that made those movies unforgettable. The combination of hand-drawn visuals, haunting music, and imaginative gameplay gave me that feeling of rediscovering something I loved as a kid but could now appreciate on a deeper level as an adult. It's a fairly linear game, but the emotional connection and visual artistry make it worth revisiting. This isn't about chasing 100% completion. It's about revisiting a world that feels alive, nostalgic, and unlike anything else out there. Now, let's take a step back and look at what this game represents, not just for me, but for the medium. In a time when AI art and procedural tools dominate development, By Sweet Carole stands as a love letter to the golden age of animation. Every frame was drawn by hand over 3 years, and you can feel the human touch in every movement. It's a modern tribute to the artistry of Don Bluth and early Disney, but it's also something deeper. It's a reminder that games can preserve forms of art that might otherwise be forgotten. The way it blends emotional storytelling, horror, and classic animation makes it unlike anything else on the market. For those of us who grew up in the 80s and 90s, this isn't just nostalgia, it's proof that craftsmanship of that era still matters and that it can thrive in modern gaming. Alright friends, now it's time for my final thoughts. By Sweet Carole is a hauntingly beautiful masterpiece, a game that blends the innocence of a fairy tale with the darkness of reality. Between its breathtaking animation, emotional storytelling, and exceptional sound design, it's one of the most memorable experiences I've had this year, and really, in a long time. This isn't just a game I recommend, it's a game that I'll be buying physically to preserve in my collection. It's that rare kind of title that reminds you why you fell in love with games in the first place. By Sweet Carole easily earns my full Thunderstruck recommendation. If you've played By Sweet Carole, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What classic animated movies did it remind you of? And if you enjoyed this review, please don't forget to press the like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss future reviews and discussions. You can also catch me every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Arizona time on the NintenByte Podcast with Nintendo Prime, Gamebird Classic, and Eric Moore, where we talk all things Nintendo, Switch 2 news, rumors, predictions, and new and recurring guests every week. And as always, remember, you're never too old to play video games.